Hi babes, welcome back to my channel. Now we are recording another amazing episode of your favorite series, 100 Amazing Girlfriends of Mine. And today's girlfriend here is this amazing girl named Tee. I love her so much, seriously. She's one of the most amazing women I've ever met in my life. And I've met a lot of amazing women in my life. So why don't I do a little bit of introduction and I'll hand the microphone to you. Because my audience always complaining, you talk too much, let me interview you talk. I'm one of those people that love to hear myself talk. I'm so sorry. So let me put it this way. Tee is from a super prominent family in Mongolia. She's Mongolian. She doesn't speak Mandarin Chinese, but she grew up in London. I had heard about so many amazing things before I actually met her. From her amazing list of accomplishment, I thought she was like older. When I met her, I'm like, this is a college kid. She looks so young. She will divulge her secrets to us too. But I'm gonna let her talk about it. How does it feel to grow up in London? You know, coming from Mongolia, and a lot of people probably think you're Chinese. But people say I look Mongolian. But how was it like?
So initially, before moving to London, we lived in Korea and in Seoul, South Korea. But also we moved here because my parents were separated, and Mongolia started liberalizing and letting people live across the world. So with that context, it was fascinating, and I consider myself incredibly lucky to have had an education in such an incredible city, such an international city where you really do not discriminate. Everyone is from some other part of the world. Everyone is incredibly globally minded, and you learn something every single day.
That's kind of how I feel too, like growing up in New York City. Luckily, maybe we're just lucky. I never had any bad experience as an Asian girl growing up in New York. I think it's a similar experience in London.
No,
right?
I feel totally privileged more than anything about the fact that I could walk around and there will be some beautiful buildings, and then there will be what we say in London, council estates. And you see the mixture of different backgrounds, and that's what's so beautiful about London. It's definitely my favourite city because of that, and I'm so lucky to call it home. I've also lived in other cities and I've lived across the US, I've lived in Switzerland in a few different cities, I've lived a little bit in the French countryside during COVID, and also in Ibiza, so and one of the islands, Spanish islands, and so I feel very, very lucky, and I've even done work experience and lived in Mongolia as well.
That's so amazing. This is why I love Tee, because she's just kind of person that's so accepting and tolerant towards different cultures and people. One of the biggest reasons why is I believe that you grew up in such a diverse environment, and she's also one of the most down-to-earth, real, humble, and modest person I know, because she is from one of the most prominent families in Mongolia. Like I said, you know, we call her the Mongolian princess behind her back. She is a princess, honestly, but you would never feel that like just hanging out with her. She's just so down-to-earth and sweet. And one of the biggest reasons why I want to sit down with her and record this episode was I'm so inspired by her career path. This woman, she's so young. She's only in her early 30s. She just turned 30, right? She's still really young, but she already sits on a board of several like multi-million-dollar companies. Like we're talking about like huge corporations. And she's also an avid investor in technology. I want her to talk about, tell us about your career path and how you know, become so self-assured in the world. Like you work with people, a lot of them are a lot older than you. How do you hold your ground?
I'll make some corrections. I do sit on a number of boards, but normally startups and technology startups specifically. And I'm also an executive at a publicly traded company, but I can talk to you a little bit about that. And I'm an entrepreneur to my core, while I've had the context of a family that's always been duty and really serving the community. I had that context, but really after my first year in investment banking, where I did the whole rounds of from being on the trading floor to investment banking to research, and in the commodity space, it was through someone I was a very old friend and childhood, I would say my childhood sweetheart, he introduced me to the world of technology, and I was very lucky to become an analyst for a private equity looking at big data collection in Africa. At the time, mobile money, mobile pay, mobile health, drones were new and emerging technologies. We were looking at how it could help create stability across Africa, and this is when M-Pesa was coming about. So I would say I was quite early in the sort of big data world, and coming from commodities, I very quickly saw that data is the new oil and to be overused, but at the time not a lot of people were talking about data and why we needed to collect data and understand data. And shortly after that, got thanks to the person I mentioned, was introduced to a company that is globally recognized, company that some might know of called Cambridge Analytica. So in Web 2, Cambridge Analytica really was at the forefront of understanding our behavior analytics, and we were helping commercial companies around the world understand their data and their consumers' data or their customers' data and the applications of it. So again, I was quite a young girl, but explaining to executives and very senior executives of large, some public, some private companies.
How do you hold it around? I think a lot of young women, when they first become when they first enter their first job and starting their career, that's one of the biggest challenges that people have. You don't know how to hold your ground, how to present yourself.
I think just to sort of after that, and actually when people have asked when did you start your career, I really started when I was 13.
Starting early at the beginning.
I started at 13 because all I wanted to do was be a fighter jet pilot for the Royal Air Force, and that was my obsession.
Wow.
From 13 to 18, I was flying with what's called the Royal Air Force Air Training Corps.
You can fly your plane.
I used to fly.
Yeah.
I used to fly gliders on the weekends. It's a Viking glider, and I used to go to the countryside in the UK and fly with all these, brilliant people, and I was learning how to fly there. But also, I got the discipline, what I believe officers are given, and this is why something like the Air Training Corps, it's called the ATC. Well, it was incredibly powerful to me to, do all the hard stuff. We literally started as cadets, and then you have to climb the ranks.
Yeah.
And teaching children the skills to work hard, have discipline, polish your shoes, make your bed, polish your clothes so that it's not creased. All the principles to really lead you to become a pretty independent person who can hold their ground in any situation. So I would say that was fundamental education for me in my childhood, and of course having incredible sort of family members that I could look around and be inspired by. And my mother always taught us to always listen and respond in an informed way, and so I think education at home, and so that's, I would say, cadets, education at home, and just
military training and your mother's early education really helped, right? And speaking of mom, the first time I met Tee, I met her mom as well. She is just the mom that I think every girl wants. Like the whole conversation we had, I was just calling her mama at the same time. I look at these two, I was just like, oh my God, that's kind of relationship I want to have with my own daughter, Scarlett. Can you talk about your mom and your relationship, how important she is at, supporting your every dream and endeavor in your life?
Of course. So she is the purpose for my total existence. I am so grateful for all the decisions she's made in life, and I have to say I do everything for her.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry. I want to cry.
I do that because I think as a mother you sacrifice so much to make sure your children have the life
I really do.
they deserve.
Oh my God, we're gonna make each other cry.
And I think she has done that, and it's not my place to talk about all her experiences, but they have definitely inspired me to always be strong, and raising children in a foreign country with two children is incredibly difficult, and I'm so grateful to her and everything she's done for us, and I will forever be grateful. I promise to make her proud.
From becoming a mother myself, and I told you, my fertility journey has been very, very hard. I lost my grandmother during my first pregnancy. My second pregnancy was early miscarriage. Third one was a very tough midterm loss. I don't think I'm fully recovered from the whole catastrophe yet. Thanks, babe. It does create a lot of psychological and physical burden on your body, and sometimes you just don't feel like myself. But like you said, the kind of motherly love that you can have for something, and then that reciprocal kind of love you get from your children, it's the most important thing and the most beautiful thing, a selfless thing that you can ever experience in life. So I love it. And can you talk about how your family is so close bonded together? I know that you and your sister are super close, and both of you guys are close.
This is a very personal story, but my mother didn't think she could have children, and they were, doctors, and they were saying, no, you're probably not going to have children. So when she got pregnant with me, actually before she got pregnant with me, Mongolians are very superstitious, and she went to the...
We Chinese too, we're very superstitious too.
She went to, it's called the Mother's, called Mother's forest, and she went and really prayed to Mother Nature.
I need to go there. I pray to Mother Nature too.
And she prayed that she had a child, and she got pregnant with me, with my father, and they had me. And so for her it was a miracle, and I can only feel so much sympathy for you, because I think we take for granted that a lot of women, every woman should have a choice. I really believe every woman should be given a choice. I also very much appreciate women who have lost their child or think they cannot. And we just have to be mindful in today's society not to, cast blame or judge anyone, because everyone's got a different experience. And I hope you recover. It is a massive sort of psychological journey that you go through.
The fertility journey can be really lonely and emotional, and this is one of those things that's kind of taboo in a society where people don't want to openly talk about it, and people also don't know how to talk about it because it is hard and sad. And however, I do believe the more openly we talk about it, and if you do have a emotional and difficult fertility journey, talk about it. Personally, it makes me feel better. Every time I tell people about this loss, I guess I normalize a little bit for other women who's also having the same experience.
I think you have to be courageous, and with our sort of leadership in the world, I do think it's important to allow people to have discourse around topics that are quite challenging, and that's really what's missing in society: discourse, and not just accepting a view because it's sent to us via a post from our friend, and or an article that is there to influence. I'm of the belief that I like to read multiple views and take a sort of insightful decision, and that's the way I approach my life.
I agree totally. And also sometimes women should not be so hard on yourself. I think whatever happens in fertility journey is the same way. You immediately blame yourself. But the truth is, it's really a two-way street. But women always blame themselves, and you kind of live under this very dark cloud and thinking there must have been something wrong with me. It's me. But it's not. It's everything. And I also don't want women to be defined by their fertility too. It's hard. I know it's very hard, but you've got to try to fight your way through. That's how I envision it. And another thing I want to talk to you about is that the first time I met her, I was like, oh my god, this girl looks like she just out of high school. Like your beauty and anti-aging secret, because she's got like amazing bone structure. It just makes her look so young. And there's a Chinese celebrity, I don't know if you have heard of them, they're called twins, like the singer from Hong Kong. And they're both in their early 40s, both look amazingly young. You kind of got the similar bone structure as one of the singers. So tell us your beauty secrets.
So firstly, I know I spend a lot of time with friends in technology, and I appreciate that there is DNA, but there's also your environment and your patterns of behavior and how you look after yourself. Your environment is incredibly important. You have to, as an individual, I try to create clean and healthy environments for my own psychological well-being. So if I find something challenging and I find myself to be stressed, and therefore increasing cortisol, which impacts everything.
Cortisol sucks!
From weight to skin and so
fertility, everything.
Mood. I try to understand it and then move away from it. So environment is incredibly important, and of course, that sort of leads on to how you look after yourself. I would say well-being in general is incredibly important. Going for a run in the morning, going for a walk, spending time in nature as much as possible. I try to, if you look at my step count, I walk quite a lot.
That's so good. Walking is so good.
Just to think about not make irrational decisions and therefore spend the time for my well-being or myself.
Sure. And London is such a walking friendly city too. You just want to walk everywhere.
It's so pretty. And finally, I would say the products I use, I'm very selective. I'm quite analytical about, and I've done my research on multiple products.
Right.
And one product that really stood out openly, I'm sort of a brand that I've been supporting for a long time. I'm a long-term advocate of it, called Nuance.
Oh my god, I carry my store.
Oh my god.
Yes, this is a really nice skincare line from Switzerland. Well, I will let you talk about it.
So I used to live in Switzerland. People and life in Switzerland is so incredibly different. It reminds me of the Altai Mountains of Mongolia, where my grandparents are from. And it's the air, the water, everything is incredibly fresh. And when you put products from Nuance, you can feel the products. Also, a lot of it is nature-based and research-based. It's scientific sort of. And I personally need something that I feel...
Your mother likes it too, right?
Yeah, she's obsessed and she looks very good for her age.
She does, she does.
And also there are supplements that, there's sleep supplements which are so important for one's well-being, sleep. So I take the sleep supplements, I've been taking increasingly the well-being supplements, which is just nutrients.
Controls your cortisol and just, get the nutrients that you may be lacking.
Precisely. So it's not just skincare, it's also making sure that there are other supplements I'm getting in my body. And now my hair, I have to say, my hair grows incredibly quickly, which means that I'm constantly going and getting haircuts. I would say my nails are incredibly strong and I feel a pretty healthy person. And I think it's a combination of factors. I'm generally happy and I do think my well-being, I prioritize my mental and physical well-being all the time, but also I'm very selective about what I put on my face, and I do not put anything that's got chemicals. I do not
paraben, phthalates, or all that nasty. Just clean.
Because actually that has multiple, a little bit like environmental catastrophes, which is something I'm incredibly passionate about. Climate change and also all the chemicals and products that we're exposed to is changing us and our hormones.
Yes.
And it is deeply connected. And I personally do not go near a lot of cleaning products. I do not go near, I'm quite sort of fussy about going near products that I think will be absorbed by my body.
It has a lot of preservatives and harmful chemicals.
Food,
hormones. You're absolutely right. This is why I'm so passionate about clean beauty. I mean, clean beauty, everybody has different standards, but there's so much that we don't know about how much chemicals our bodies absorb through just beauty products. And the more we pay attention to the ingredients, the better it is for us. Because from personal experience, I know it does affect your fertility. And from, when I was trying to conceive my first daughter, I was using a bunch of products that has paraben in it. As soon as I stopped for about 5 months, I got pregnant. And I do think research after research has shown us that they are endocrine disruptors because they mimic the chemical compound of an estrogen. So your body would think that you have these things, they're estrogen. So they will lower progesterone levels to rebalance your body, but they're not real estrogen. That's why it could disrupt your ovulation cycles, impact your egg quality, a bunch of stuff that we just don't understand. But this is not a commercial. I do love Nuance. It's you know a really famous girl. What's her name? She married. We call her Natalia. What's her last name? I can't remember.
She's so good. I'm terrible.
I'm terrible at names too. Same. But she's we call her 水果娜 in Chinese.
Okay.
Yeah, because she used to sell fruits or something. She's this Russian model. But she's a huge fan of Nuance too.
Also, what I love about just the community is that Nuance has this chivalrous community where women who look after themselves, their families, their communities and society as a whole are gathering together because we've gone into a world where there's so much on display. It's really, the role models out there are not the role models I want my children to grow up with, and I think there is an alternative. It is one that is thoughtful, it's it's a community of women who are doing, embraced modern living, embraced working, embraced quality. I'm a massive advocate of environmental social governance. So I personally believe that discourse is important, education, but most importantly, I believe that we need responsible role models in society.
And you want to foster this community where women support each other and sort of goes
and
beyond.
men, by the way. The community is also for men because all the products men
That's true.
use.
Men can use.
And it's just responsible leaders and people who check themselves. Before, I don't post a lot and I try not to say outlandish things. I just think, it has consequences. People get affected by my actions. I might seem as though I'm just a little bit more maybe conservative, but I think that's just the way I choose to live my life.
I know. It's very hard to live in a society where you're just exposing yourself on the internet. I can tell you firsthand, it's very hard, especially if you're going through something in your personal life that other people don't know. You have to carry this deep, dark pain in your heart, but still has to put on, keep this public persona of yours. It's incredibly hard.
I'm definitely not a public persona, and I believe that we don't have to be public personas to act responsibly.
Definitely.
And I think it is important to lead by example.
Yeah.
I have a younger sister, so I have always felt that I needed to lead by example because she looks at everything I do and
how much younger is she?
A year and a half.
So you guys are really close in age.
Yeah, but even then, even when we were little, the way I walked, the way I spoke, the way I put away things, she would mimic every movement. And I knew I was responsible for not just myself, but for my older sister, who was looking up to me. So I always had this sort of sense of duty to make sure that I made the right decisions.
Mm-hmm. Do you give her dating advice too?
Yeah. She's very sensible. She's a lawyer, so she is very grounded, and we talk about our situations to each other, and we always try to listen to each other's perspectives, and where we can, we will give feedback. But at the end, it's our lives, and I think intervening in people's lives too much is not a good idea.
That's true. You have to give her the freedom and autonomy to run it. Okay, we're doing this last part is not because I think everybody needs to date. So many people want to know amazing girls, amazing women that they know in their lives, their dating life and how they're treating their dating life, their dating history. Do you even have time to date, Tee? You're so busy. You have so many things going on.
I've had the most incredible love, and I would say still love that person, will always love that person. But besides that, I've really just spent time on myself and making sure that I'm happy.
So you have a 白月光, that's what we call it in Chinese, meaning that a white moonlight. That's the person, the one, not necessarily the one that got away, but the person that's always in your heart.
He hasn't quite gone away. We are best friends. We speak pretty much
every day
or every other day. We're just incredibly close. It's just sometimes people are meant to be friends. Sometimes people are meant to be together forever. I do not know. But I certainly, before entering relationships, I am really at the time where I'm just totally loving exploring what I love and my values, and I want to bring to the world, because I think you can do that in partnership with someone, definitely, and you have to make sure that you are aligned in your dreams, because what else do we have? A lot of dreams, and I think that's incredibly important for me.
And do you actively date now, or you just kind of if it happens, it happens, right?
I missed all that sort of dating apps, and I missed all of that because I would say I like things to be serendipitous. And I have no real interest in dating. I have really interest in aligning with someone. That's very different to dating.
Yeah.
I can normally tell in a conversation
whether
someone aligns with me or not.
For sure.
I'm not I don't spend my time on anything I do not think is valuable.
That's so brilliant. Like, don't waste your time on boys. Like, just focus on your dreams and goals, and men come, then fine. They don't, that's fine as well. What's your view on motherhood?
I cannot wait. I've always dreamt of having a large family. My mother has 6 siblings. She's one in 7. So I've always wanted an enormous family.
How many kids do you want?
Quite a lot. But I don't want to, I've always wanted that. I'm pretty sure it will happen. I think a little bit like my grandparents. I'll show you a photo of my grandpa. Someone I can see, just someone who is responsible for family. And
Is your dad's father or mom's father? Mom's father.
And she just had this incredible childhood with both parents just so loving and supporting, and it's because they had a great partnership. So I would say for me that's the most important thing: a great partnership, an understanding,
not necessarily like a traditional marriage perspective, but like just a strong partnership where you can co-parent.
I think just very similar values in life and vision for the world. Because when you have been given so many opportunities, I would feel that I have not made the most of it if I did not pursue it. And someone who I believe will love me and the person I end up entering this partnership with will be the person who can see that.
I'm sure.
I'm not going to, I do not think that I would like my children to grow up not looking up to me and respecting me.
Yeah, for sure. That's absolutely the case. And one last thing that you mentioned about like your anti-aging regimen. I remember the last time you told me is that you stay out of the sun.
Yeah.
So I actually gave her this. Look at the powder right here. Last time when I saw her, I gave her this Tracy Ampler Collaboration Powder. This is so good that you can actually, no one reapplies sunscreen, but it's so important. SPF 50 is so good, and this time I brought you this. It's the actual sunscreen. SPF 50 PA4 pluses. You can try it. This is literally one of the best sunscreens in the world. I'm not even kidding. It's so light, and I want you to try it. Just try it, how light it is. And it blends immediately, and it actually nourishes your skin with very strong sun protection. Never leaves a white cast.
It smells really
And
nice.
the ingredients are really clean too. It's Japanese. You will love it. And I want to give it to you and let me know. Yes, stay out of the sun, ladies. That's one of the most important lessons. Oh, yeah, you can speak a little Mandarin too. Do you want to try to speak a little Mandarin?
我是蒙古人。
I love you so much. Oh, of course. Thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with us. If you guys have any more questions for beautiful Tee, please leave in the comments down below. And she's just so amazing. I can't wait for her to come back and we'll do more amazing things together.
And please stay in London.
I will come back to see you all the time. Love you. Bye, guys.